Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to the episode 15 of Mahabharata Reading Challenge. As always, we are going to start with the prayers. Shri Guru Charan Saroj Raj, Nijman Mukur Sudhari, Varnau Raghuvar, Bimal Jasu, Jo Dayaku Falchari. बुद्धहीन तानु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेस विकार. Knowing that this mind of mine has less intelligence, I remember the Son of Wind, who, granting me strength, wisdom, and all kinds of knowledge, removes all my suffering and shortcomings. निश्चय प्रेम प्रतीत ते बिने करवे सम्मान, तेहि के कारज सकल शुभ सिद्ध करे हनुमान. जय हनुमान संत हितकारी, सुन लीजिए प्रभु अर्ज हमारी. जन के काज विलम्ब न कीजिए, आतुर दोर महासुख दीजिए. आंखें देखे मौन मुख सहा कहा नहीं जाए, लेख विधाता का लिखा कौन किसे समझाए, कौन किसे समझाए. वचन दिया सोचा नहीं, होगा क्या परिणाम, सोच समझकर कीजिए जीवन में हर काम. जीवन को समझा रहा जिया हुआ इतिहास, जब तक तन में श्वास है तब तक मन में आस, तब तक मन में आस. आस कह रही श्वास से धीरज धरना सीख, मांगे बिन मोती मिले, मांगे मिले न भीख, मांगे मिले न भीख. है कथा संग्राम की, विश्व के कल्याण की, धर्म अधर्म आदि अनंत, सत्य असत्य कलेश कलंक, स्वार्थ की कथा परमार्थ की. शक्ति है भक्ति है, जन्मों की मुक्ति है, जीवन का ये संपूर्ण सार है. युग युग से कण कण में, सृष्टि के दर्पण में, वेदों की कथा अपार है. धर्मों की गाथा है, देवों की भाषा है, सदियों के इतिहास का प्रमाण है. कृष्णा की महिमा है, गीता की गरिमा है, ग्रंथों का ग्रंथ ये महान है. महाभारत महाभारत महाभारत. सुख करता दुख हरता, वार्ता विघ्नाची हो वार्ता विघ्नाची, नुरवी पूर्वी प्रेम कृपाया जायाची. सर्वांगी सुंदर उतिशेन दुराची हो उतिशेन दुराची, कांठी झाल के माल मुक्ता फलहांची. जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति. जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति, दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ति. जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति, हो श्री मंगल मूर्ति, दर्शन मात्रे मन कामना पूर्ति. जय देव जय मंगल मूर्ति. Think him as Vishnu while taking medicine, as Janardhana while eating food, as Padmanabha while in bed, as Prajapati at time of marriage, as Chakradhara while engaged in war, as Trivikrama while on travel, as Narayana on deathbed, as Sridhara while meeting with the beloved, as Govinda while tossing with bad dreams, as Madhusudana while in troubles, as Narsimha while in the forest, as Jalasayana while fire is ravaging, as Varha while struggling in water, as Raghunandan while lost in a mountain, as Vamana while on the move, and as Madhava while doing everything. यह तो प्रेम की बात है ऊदो, बंदगी तेरे बस की नहीं है. यहाँ सर दे के होते हैं सौदे, आशिकी इतनी सस्ती नहीं है. प्रेम वालों ने कब वक्त पूछा, उनकी पूजा है सुन, पूजा में सुन ले है ऊदो. यहाँ दमदम में होती है पूजा, सर झुकाने की फुर्सत नहीं है. जो असल में है मस्ती में डूबे, उन्हें क्या परवाह ज़िंदगी की. जो उतरती है चढ़ती है मस्ती, वो हकीकत में मस्ती नहीं है. जिसकी नज़रों में है शाम प्यारे, वो तो रहते हैं जग से न्यारे. जिसकी नज़रों में मोहन समाए, वो नज़रें फिर तरसती नहीं है. कर्पूर गौरम करुणा अवतारम, संसार सारम भुजगेंद्रहारम, सदा वसंतम हृदय रविंदे, भवम भवानी सहितम नमामि. I bow to Bhavani as well as to Lord Shiva, who is white as camphor, who is compassion incarnate, who is the essence of world, who wears a garland of large snake, and who always dwells in lotus-like hearts of his devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो के तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है, तुम मेरे हो मैं तेरा हूँ, बस और नहीं कुछ याद मुझे. ये ध्यान सदा मेरे मन में रहे, ये विनय सुनाने आया हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो के तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. फूलों में तुम्हारी खुशबू है, पत्तों में तुम्हारी हस्ती है, पर फूल नहीं है पास मेरे, बस नयन चढ़ाने आया हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ. तुम मेरे प्यारे सावरिया, मेरा तुमसे हमेशा नाता है, नहीं और मेरी कोई सुनता है, मैं तुम्हें सुनाने आया हूँ. जब याद तुम्हारी आती है मैं तेरे दर पर आता हूँ, अपने सुख दुख को हे ठाकुर मैं रो रो कर तुम्हें सुनाता हूँ। मंगल मूर्ति मारुति नंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन पवन तनय संत हितकारी हृदय विराजित अवध बिहारी जय 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 बजरंग बली महावीर हनुमान गोसाई। नटखट बंसी वाले गोकुल के राजा मेरी अखियाँ तरस गई अब तो आजा आजा। नटखट बंसी वाले गोकुल के राजा मेरी अखियाँ तरस गई अब तो आजा आजा। गोपी जन रास रास अभिलाषी कौरव कालिंग कंस विनाशी हिमकार बाणुक साम प्रकाशी सर्व बहुत ही वस वैयाखी। बोलो जय कन्हैया की। नटखट बंसी वाले गोकुल के राजा मेरी अखियाँ तरस गई अब तो आजा अब तो आजा। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं बेशबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं बेशबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं। कौन कहते हैं भगवान नाचते नहीं गोपियों की तरह तुम नचाते नहीं। नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो हर समय कृष्ण का ध्यान करते चलो। नाम जपते चलो काम करते चलो हर समय कृष्ण का ध्यान करते चलो। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणम जानकी वल्लभम। On day 15 we are going to pray to Parvati Ma for as Sita Ma prayed to Parvati Ma for getting married to Ramji. जय 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 गिरिवर राज किशोरी जय महेश मुखचंद चकोरी जय गजबदन खड़ानन माता जगत जाननी दामिनी दुति गाता। देवी पूजी पद कमल तुम्हारे सुर नर मुन सब हे ही सुखारे। मोर मनोरथ जानहु नीके बसहु सदा उर पर सब ही के। कीन्हु प्रकट न करन तेहि आस कही चरण गहे बदेही। जय गजपदन खड़ानन माता जगत जाननी दामिनी दुति गाता। विनय प्रेम बस भई भवानी खास खसी माल मूर्ति मुस्कानी। सादर प्रिय प्रसाद सरधेरु बोली गौरी हर्ष हुए बरहु। सुनो सिय सत्य असीस हमारी पूजहि मन कामना तुम्हारी। नारद बचन सता सुचि साचा सो बरहु मिल जही मनुराचा। जय गजपदन षडानन माता जगत जाननी दामिनी दुति गाता। नहीं ताप आदि मध्य अवसाना अमित प्रभाव वेद नहीं जाना। भव भव विभव पराभव कारिणी विश्व विमोहिनी स्वबस बिहारिणी। पति देवता स्तुति महु मात प्रथम तव रेखा। महिमा अमित न सकहि कही सहस शारदा शेष। सोवत तोहि सुलभ फलचारी बरदायिनी पुरारी प्यारी। मोर मनोरथ जानहु नीके बसहु सदा उरपुर सुभी के। केनु प्रकट न कारण तेहि आस कही चरण गेहु गहे बेदही। जय 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 गिरिवर राज किशोरी जय महेश मुखचंद चकोरी जय गजपदन खड़ानन माता जगत जाननी दामिनी दुति गाता। So we are on day 15 and today we are going to read from 79 until 82 and this is something difficult. These chapters are somewhat difficult to read because these contains grief. Abhimanyu, the death of Abhimanyu, a father's grief, the Sindhu king. 79. Okay, we are here. 79. Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu. Early next morning, Duryodhan went to Dronacharya in a state of bitterness and anger. After the customary salutation, he addressed him thus in the presence of a large number of generals. Esteemed Brahmana, Yudhishthir was quite within your reach yesterday, and if you had really wished to take him, no one could have prevented you, yet you did not take him, and to me the events of yesterday are inexplicable. I cannot understand what makes it hard for you to carry out your promise to me. Verily, great men are not understandable. Dronacharya was exceedingly hurt by this insulting insinuation. Duryodhan, he said, I am putting forth on your behalf all the strength and skill I possess. You entertain thoughts unworthy of a king. As long as this is a really nice statement. You entertain thoughts unworthy of a king. As long as Arjun is present supporting Yudhishthir, it is not possible for us to seize him. I have told you that already. If it is only if we manage somehow to get Arjuna out of the battlefield that we can hope to carry out this plan as you desire, and I am devising ways to attain this objective. Thus did Thus did Drona nobly conquer his just anger and seek to comfort Duryodhan in his distress. On the 13th day, the Samsaptakas again challenged Arjun to battle, and he accordingly went to attack them, where they were arrayed to the south of the main battlefront. The battle that was fought between the Samsaptakas and Arjun was the fiercest that ever had been seen or heard of till that day. When Dhananjay left the main front for meeting the Samsaptak, Samsaptakas, Samsaptakas, Samsaptakas. When Arjun left the main front for meeting the Samsaptakas, Drona rearranged his army in lotus formation and attacked Yudhishthira fiercely. Bhima, Satyaki, Chekitana, Drishtadyumna, Kunti Bhoj, Draupta, Ghatotkach, Yudhamanyu, Shikandin, Uttamajus, Virata, the Kekaya, Nayaja, Srinjayas, and many others opposed him, but their resistance seemed paralyzed by the violence of Drona's offensive. Abhimanyu, son of Arjun and Subhadra, was still adolescent but had already won recognition as mighty man at the arms, even as equal of his father and uncle in the battle. Yudhishthir called Abhimanyu and said, Dear son, Dronacharya is attacking our army greatly. Arjuna is absent, and if we should be defeated in his absence, he will be grieved beyond measure. No one among us had been able to break Drona's array. You know you can do it, and no one else. I ask you to take up that task. I can do it, replied Abhimanyu. I have been instructed by father how to penetrate this formation and can certainly do so. But if after forcing my way it should unfortunately become necessary for me to come out, shall be at loss what to do, being as yet uninstructed in the art of extrication. So he basically knew how to enter into that uh, Chakravyuh, I guess, which Drona was planning for them. But here they said, na? Yeah, but he didn't know, he was not instructed that how to come out from that Chakravyuh. So he's telling, I can do it. I have been instructed by my father how to penetrate this formation and can certainly do so. Basically, it was written that So Drona arranged army in the lotus formation. So in this formation, Abhimanyu could enter it, but he surely didn't know how to get back from this formation. I shall be at a loss what to do, being as yet uninstructed in the art of extrication. Valiant boy, valiant boy, break this impregnable formation and open a passage for us. We shall all break in your wake. We shall be with you to face any danger, and no question can arise of your having to come out. Bhimsena supported Yudhishthir's proposal. I shall be immediately behind you and enter when you succeed in breaking the enemy's formation. So also will Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, and Panchala Sakekaya, the forces of Matsya Desa. Only break the formation as you alone can do it. We shall do the rest and smash the Kaurva army. Abhimanyu thought of his father and Krishna. Feeling encouraged by what had been said by Bhimsena and Yudhishthir and impelled by his own gallant nature, undertook the adventure. I shall please my great father and uncle, he said with enthusiasm. Let my valor be staked on this. May your prowess grow, said Yudhishthir and blessed the youths. Sumitra, see Drona's flag flying there. Drive straight and fast to that point, said Abhimanyu to his charioteer. Faster, faster, urged Abhimanyu as they sped along. May the gods protect you, said the charioteer. Yudhishthir has placed a very great burden on your young shoulders. Think well before you pierce Drona's arrays and enter. The Acharya is unrivaled in skill and experience, while you, though his equal in valor, have not his long years to back it. Abhimanyu smiled and replied, Friend, I am Krishna's nephew and son of Arjun. Am I not? Which other has that advantage? Fear dares not approach me. These enemies have not a 16th part of my these enemies here have not a 16th part of my strength. Drive fast towards Drona's division, do not hesitate. The charioteer obeyed. As the golden chariot to which were yoked beautiful young horses approached, the soldiers in Kaurva army shouted, Abhimanyu is coming, he has come. The Pandavas followed Abhimanyu close behind him. The Kaurava warriors were perturbed as they saw Abhimanyu's chariot approach them with great speed. Here is one greater in valor than Arjun, they thought, and began to lose heart like a young lion on a herd of elephants. Abhimanyu rushed on. There was a ripple in the Kaurva's rank which bent under his headlong onslaught. The bend soon became a break under Drona's very eye. The formation was breached and Abhimanyu entered. But the breach closed under the inspiration of Jayadratha, king of Sindhus, before the other Pandav warriors could force their way in according to plan, and Abhimanyu was alone. Kaurav warriors opposed him, but they fell like moths in the fire, one after another. Abhimanyu's shaft searched the weak points in the armor of his enemies, and the bodies of soldiers lay strewn on the field like kusa grass on the sacrificial platform. Bows, arrows, swords, shields, javelin, spears of harness, chariot canopies, axes, mace, spears, whips, conchs, along with severed heads and limbs of slain warriors covered the field. Seeing the destruction wrought by Abhimanyu, Duryodhan was wroth and rushed in person to oppose the youthful warrior. Drona, having learned that the king himself was engaged in battle with Abhimanyu, became anxious and sent veterans to protect Duryodhan. With great difficulty, they managed to rescue the king from the boy hero, who, greatly disappointed at the escape of Duryodhan, vented his anger on the warriors that had come to rescue him and put them to headlong fight. Then, throwing away all sense of shame and chivalry, a large number of veteran warriors made a combined and simultaneous attack on the hero, who found himself alone, surrounded by enemies on all sides. But even as on all sides a rock receives the rising tide of sea, Arjun's son withstood this united onslaught. Drona, Ashwatthama, Kripa, Karna, Shakuni, Salya, and many other great warriors in their chariots, equipped with all arms, surged in attack on the young hero, only to be dashed back, baffled and broken. Asmaka rode his chariot at great speed against Abhimanyu's, but smilingly Abhimanyu sent his shaft and disposed of him in no time. Karna's armor was pierced, Salya was badly wounded and sat, unable to move in his chariot. Salya's brother came up in great wrath to avenge his brother's disgrace, but he fell and his chariot was broken to the pieces. Thus did Abhimanyu alone and unsupported oppose a host of veteran warriors and show the skills in the use of arms which he had learned from his illustrious father and from Vasudeva, his uncle. Seeing this, the poet says, Dronacharya's eyes were filled with tears of affectionate admiration. Was there ever a fighter to equal this boy Abhimanyu? Was there ever a fighter to equal this boy Abhimanyu? Exclaimed Drona to Kripa in the hearing of Duryodhan, who could not contain who could not contain his anger. The Acharya's partiality for Arjun prevents him from killing Abhimanyu, Duryodhan said, and he sings his praises instead of fighting him. Indeed, if the Acharya was minded to dispose of Abhimanyu, would it take him long to do it? Often did Duryodhan suspect and complain in this manner against Bhishma and Drona. So we have seen often Duryodhan was complaining against Bhishma and Drona, that they are always praising Pandavas. Having undertaken a war of adharma, he was often led to speak in this manner and hurt the feelings of Acharya, who stood loyally by him. Even when they saw the wickedness of his ways, Dushasan roared in anger and exclaiming, "This obstinate lad will perish now," led his chariot forward to attack Abhimanyu. The chariot of Abhimanyu and Dushasan made wonderful movement against each other, and the battle raged long. Dushasan was stuck senseless in his car, and his charioteer just managed to drive away from the field, saving Dushasan's life. Karna attacked Abhimanyu with his shaft and harassed him greatly. But one of Abhimanyu's arrows felled Karna's bow, and the young warrior followed up this advantage so vigorously that he put Karna and his supporters to flight. The Kaurava forces, when they saw this, were completely demoralized. The army was in confusion, and men fled in all directions, not caring for Drona's shout of remonstrance. And Abhimanyu destroyed those that stood as fire destroys a dry jungle in the summer. The death of Abhimanyu. The Pandavas, proceeding according to the plan, had closely followed Abhimanyu when he broke into the Kaurava formation. But Dhritarashtra's son-in-law, Jayadratha, the gallant king of Sindhu, swooped down upon the Pandavas with all his forces and enabled the breach in the formation to be effectively and solidly closed up, so that the Pandavas found it impossible to force their way in. Yudhishthira hurled a javelin and cut Jayadratha's bow, but in an instant the Sandhava took up another bow and sent unerring shafts at Dharmaputra. Bhimsena's arrow made deadly work, crashing down the canopy and flagstaff of Jayadratha's car. But the Sandhava was alert and rearmed himself each time his equipment was broken. He killed Bhima's chariot horses, and the latter had to go into the Satyaki's car. In this manner, Jayadratha, with stubborn valor, prevented the Pandavas from entering in Abhimanyu's wake. The young hero was thus isolated and surrounded by Kaurava's force. The son of Subhadra was, however, undaunted. He attacked all the warriors around him and slew them in great number, like rivers losing themselves in the ocean. The soldiers that went to attack him disappeared before his arrows. The Kaurava army reeled under Abhimanyu's onslaughts. Duryodhana's son Lakshmana, a gallant young warrior, then charged on Abhimanyu. When they saw this, retreating soldiers came back and supported Lakshmana, showering arrows on Abhimanyu like rain falling on a hill. Still, Arjun's son was undaunted, and his shaft came swift and shining like a serpent flesh sword and pierced Lakshmana. The handsome youth, with beautiful nose and eyebrows and hair, lay dead on the field, and the Kaurava soldiers were filled with grief. To hell with the wicked Abhimanyu, shouted Duryodhan and the six great warriors Drona, Kripa, Karna, Ashwatthama, Brihadbala, and Kritavarma closed upon Abhimanyu. It is impossible to pierce this youth armor, said Drona to Karna. Aim at the reins of his horses and cut them off, disable him thus, and attack him from behind. The son of Surya did accordingly. Abhimanyu's bow was broken by a shaft discharged from behind. His horses and charioteer were killed. Thus disabled, the young warrior stood on the field with sword and shield, facing his enemies. As he stood dauntless like Kshatriya Dharma incarnate, he filled the warriors around with amazement. Whirling his sword, he held his own against the numerous warriors who had surrounded him with a skill that confounded them. It seemed to them as if his feet did not rest on earth and he was on wings in the air. Drona sent a shaft that broke Abhimanyu's sword. Karna's sharp arrow tore his shield into bits. Then Abhimanyu bent down and taking up one of his chariot wheel and whirling it like a disc, stood up facing all the enemies that surrounded him. The dust from the chariot wheel covered him, and the poet says it enhanced the natural beauty of the young hero. He fought fiercely like a second Vishnu with disc. But soon the combined onslaught of the warriors that surrounded him overpowered him. The chariot wheel was shattered to the pieces. The son of Dushasana came up then and closed with him in mortal combat. Both went down together, but Dushasana's son rose again, and while Abhimanyu was struggling to his feet, struck him with his mace and killed him. Subhadra's son, who like an elephant in a lily pond, single-handedly worked havoc in the Kaurava army and thus overpowered by numbers and killed cruelly, said Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. And having killed him, your people danced around his dead body like a savage hunter, exulting over their prey. All good men in the army were grieved, and tears rolled from their eyes. Even the birds of the prey that circled overhead, making noise, seemed to cry, "Not thus, not thus." While there was blowing of gongs and the cries of victory all over the Kaurava army, Yuyutsu, the son of Dhritarashtra, did not approve of all this. "This is ignoble," he angrily cried. "Soldier, you have forgotten your code. Verily, you should be ashamed, but instead you shout brazen cries of victory, having committed a most wicked deed. You revel in foolish joy, blind to the danger that is imminent. So saying, Yuyutsu threw his weapon away in disgust and left the battlefield. The young son of Dhritarashtra feared Sen. His words were not sweet in the Kaurava's ears, but he was a good man and spoke out his mind. Father's grief. Yudhishthir was plunged in sorrow. He has gone to sleep that knows no waking. He who in the battle overcame Drona, Ashwatthama, and Duryodhan, and who was like a destroying fire to enemy forces. O warrior that made Dushasana flee in fear, are you dead? What then is there for me to fight or win? Why do we want kingdom now? What words of comfort can I offer to Arjun? And what shall I say to Subhadra, quivering like a cow bereaved of her calf? How can I utter to them vain words of solace that serve no purpose? Truly, ambition destroys destroys the understanding of men, like the fool who, looking for honey, falls into a precipitous pit below and is destroyed. In my desire for victory, I push to the battlefront this boy, whose life was all before him in love and joy. There is no fool like me in the world. I have killed Arjuna's beloved son instead of protecting him during the absence of his father. This was Yudhishthir, lamenting and hesitant. Around him were sitting warriors, silent and sorrowful, thought of the valor of the youthful hero and his cruel death. It was always the custom with Vyasa to come and comfort the Pandavas whenever they were in great sorrow. He was their great teacher as well as grandsire, so he appeared now before Yudhishthir. The sage was received with all honor, and Yudhishthir, having made him sit, said, I have tried very hard to find peace of mind, but I am unable to find it. You are wise and a knower, said Vyasa, and it is not meet that you should allow yourself to be lost. You, you are a wise and a knower, said Vyasa, and it is not meet that you should allow yourself to be lost in grief in this manner. Knowing the nature of death, it is not right that you should grieve like the unlearned. Vyasa proceeded to console the bereaved Dharmaputra. When Brahma created living beings, he was filled with anxiety. These lives will multiply, and soon their numbers will be beyond the capacity of earth to bear. There seems to be no way of coping with this. This thought of Brahma grew into a flame which became bigger and bigger until it threatened to destroy all creation at once. Then Rudra came and pleaded for allaying this destructive fire. Brahma controlled the great fire and subdued it into the law that is known to mortal as death. This law of creator takes many forms such as war or sickness or accident and keeps the balance between birth and death. Death is thus an inescapable law of existence, ordained for the good of the world. It is not true wisdom to be impatient with death or to grieve immoderately for those who die. There is no reason to pity those who pass away. We may have reason indeed to grieve for those who remain. After saying these words of solace, Krishna Dvaipana Dvaipayana retired. Dhananjay and Krishna were proceeding towards their camp after defeating and slaying the Samsaptakas. Govinda, I do not know why, said Arjuna, but my mind is not at ease. My mouth feels parched and my heart is troubled with a great foreboding of loss. I wonder if any calamity has happened to Yudhishthir. Something makes me afraid, Krishna. Do not be concerned about Yudhishthir, replied Krishna. He and other brothers are safe. On the way they halted and did the evening prayer. Remounting the chariot, they proceeded to the camp. As they approached the camp, Arjun's premonition of calamity increased. Janardhan, we do not hear the usual auspicious music in the camp. The soldiers, seeing me from a distance, hang down their heads and avoid my sight. This is strange behavior on their part. Oh Madhava, I fear greatly. Do you think my brothers are safe? I am confused. How is it Abhimanyu does not run out to meet us today as usual, accompanied by his brother? They entered the camp. Why are you all wearing sad face? I do not see Abhimanyu here. How is it I see no glad faces? I understood that Drona arrayed his army in the lotus formation. No one among you could pierce it, as far as I know. Did Abhimanyu forces his way in? If so, he is dead, for I did not teach him how to make his way out of that formation. Has he been slain indeed? Has he been slain indeed? When their mournful silence and downcast eyes that dared not meet his had confirmed his worst fears. The bereaved father burst into heartbroken lamentation. Alas, has my dear boy indeed become Yama's guest? Yudhishthir, Bhimsena, Drishtadyumna, and great Satyaki, have all of you allowed the son of Subhadra to be slain by the enemy? Alas, what comfort shall I give to Subhadra? What shall I say to Draupadi? And what solace can be given to Uttara? And who shall give it? Vasudeva spoke to his heart-stricken friend. Beloved Arjun, he said, do not give way thus to grief. Born as a Kshatriya, we have to live and die by weapons. Death is ever the companion of those who have taken up the profession of arms and go into battle determined not to retreat. Warriors must be ever ready to die young. Abhimanyu, boy as he was, has attained the happy regions above which grey-haired veterans yearn to reach in the battle. Abhimanyu's end is indeed the prescribed and much desired goal of all Kshatriyas. If you give way to grief in this inordinate way, your brothers and other kings will lose heart. Stop grieving and infuse courage and fortitude into the heart of others. Dhananjay desired to be told the full story of his brave son's end, and Yudhishthir related it. I incited Abhimanyu to enter the enemy's formation, for I knew that he alone could do it among all of us. Make your way into the lotus array, and we shall follow immediately behind you. This great deed of yours will please the hearts of your father and your uncle, I said. The youthful hero did accordingly and broke the great formation and made his way in. We went behind him according to the plan, but just then the wicked Jayadratha came and effectively stopped us. He caused the breach in the formation to be closed up at once, and we found ourselves unable to follow Abhimanyu. The Sindhu kept us out, and then, oh shame on Kshatriyas who could do this. A crowd of redoubtable warriors hemmed him in, thus isolated, and slew him. When he heard the full story, Arjun was again overwhelmed by grief, and he fell on the ground in a swoon. When he recovered, he took an oath, before sunset tomorrow I shall slay Jayadarath who caused my son's death. If Drona and Kripa came between him and me, these acharyas also shall be overwhelmed and slain. Saying this, he twanged the Gandiva string, and Krishna blew the Panchajanya, and Bhima said, the twangs of Arjun's bow and this blare of Krishna's conch shall be unto the sons of Dhritarashtra the summon of death. The Sindhu king. News of Arjun's oath reached the enemy. The spies informed Duryodhana's friend that Arjun, having learned that Jayadratha was the cause of Abhimanyu's death, had vowed to kill the Sindhu king before sunset next day. Vridakstra, the illustrious king of Sindhus, was blessed with a son who was named Jayadratha. At the time of the birth of prince, a voice was heard to say, the prince will attain great glory, and he will attain the happy region above. Slain in battle, one who among the warriors of all ages ranks among the most illustrious will, on the field of battle, sever his head from the body. All living beings must die, but hardly any, however wise or brave, welcome it. Vridakstra was grieved to hear the voice declare his son's end. In his disturbed state of mind, he uttered a curse. He who shall cause my son's head to roll down on the ground shall have his head burst at that very moment into fragments. Jayadratha grew up, and when he reached manhood, Vridakstra handed over the care of state to the prince. He retired to the forest, where he spent the evening of his days in austerities in an ashram near the plain, which afterwards became the Kurukshetra field of battle. When Jayadratha came to know about Arjun's vow, he remembered Arjun's vow. He remembered the prediction about his death and feared his end was near. I do not want to be in this battle any longer. Let me go back to my country, he said to Duryodhan. Do not fear, Sandava, replied Duryodhan. Here are all these veterans and warriors who will stand between you and danger. Karna, Chitrasena, Vimitsti, Vimitsti, Bhuri Sarva, Salya, Vrishhasena, Purumitra, Jaya, Bhuja, Kamboja, Sudakshina, Satyavrata, Vikarna, Durmukha, Dushasan, Subahu, Kalinga, Davanti Prince, Drona, Drona's illustrious son, and Shakuni, all these warriors and I myself are here, and you cannot be in danger. The whole of my army will have but one task today, to defend you against Arjuna. You should not leave us now. Jayadratha agreed to remain. He went to Drona and said to him, Master, you taught me. And Arjun, Master, you taught me. So Jayadratha went to Drona and said, Master, you taught me and Arjun, and you know us both well. What is your appraisal of us two? Son, I discharged my duties as a teacher and dealt with you both impartially. The instruction was the same to you and to Arjuna, but Arjun excels because of his superior discipline and his own practice. But you need not to be discouraged by this. You will be placed behind strong force that Arjun cannot easily pierce. Fight according to the tradition of your ancestor. Death comes to us all, cowards as well as brave men. And the warrior dying in the battle attains with ease the happy region which others easily attain with great difficulty. Discard fear and fight. Arjuna excels because of his superior discipline and his own practice. Drona, having spoken thus to Jayadratha, proceeded to marshal the forces for the next day. 12 miles to the rear of the main army, Jayadratha and his detachment were placed in a strongly guarded position. Bhuri Sarvas, Karna, Ashwathama, Salya, Vrishhasena, Kripa were there with all their forces. Between them and the Pandava army, Dronacharya arrayed the main Kaurava forces in circular formation. Durmarshana's army was beaten. Like clouds driven out by gale, the Kaurava forces were scattered and fled in all directions. When Dushasan saw this, his anger rose. Leading a huge force of elephants, he surrounded Arjuna. Dushasan was a very wicked man, but he was brave also. He fought Arjuna fiercely, and the field was strewn with dead. Finally, he withdrew defeated and went back to join Drona's forces. Sabyasachi's car swiftly proceeded forward and passed. Drona, illustrious one, grieving for my son, I have come to wreak vengeance on the Sindhu king. I crave your blessing for the fulfillment of my vow, said Arjun to the Acharya. The Acharya smiled and said, Arjun, you must first fight and defeat me before you can reach Jayadratha. Saying this, Drona discharged a shower of arrows on Arjun's car. Partha also replied with his arrows, but these the Acharyas parried with ease and sent flaming shafts that hit Krishna and Arjun. The Pandava then decided to cut Drona's bow and bent his Gandiva for that purpose. Even as he was pulling his bowstring, Drona's shaft came and cut the string. The Acharya, still retaining the smile on his face, rained a shower of arrows on Arjun and his horses and chariot. Arjun fought back, but the Acharya showered his arrows that covered Arjuna and his chariot in darkness. Krishna saw things were not going at all well and said, Partha, no more waste of time. Let us proceed. It is no use fighting this Brahmana who seems to know no fatigue. Saying this, Krishna drove Arjun's chariot to the left of Acharyas and proceeded forward. Stop, surely you will not proceed without defeating your enemy, said Drona. You are my guru, not my enemy. O Acharya, I am in the position of a son to you. There is no one in the wide world that can defeat you, said Arjuna, and they proceeded forward at a swift pace, bypassing Drona. Then Arjuna pierced the Bhoja army. Kritavarma, Sudakshina, who opposed his passage, were defeated. Srutyayudha also tried to stop Arjun's progress. There was a fierce battle in which Srutyayudha lost his horses and he hurled his mace at Krishna. His mother had obtained this mace as a result of her offering, but the condition attached to the boon operated and it came back and struck Srutyayudha himself dead. This is the story of mace. Parnasa went through penance that pleased Varuna and obtained from that god is boon that her son from that god a boon that her son Srutyayudha may not be killed by any enemy. I shall give your son a divine weapon. Let him use it in all his battles. No enemy will be able to defeat him or kill him, but he should not use the weapon against one who does not fight. If he does, the weapon will recoil and kill him. Saying this, god Varuna gave a mace. Srutyayudha, when fighting Arjuna, disregarding the injunction, hurled the mace at Krishna, who was not fighting but was only driving Arjun's chariot. The missile hit Janardhan's chest and immediately rebounded fiercely back to Srutyayudha, and like a demon recoiling fatally on the magician that commits an error in uttering the spell of a power that holds it in thrall. It slew Srutyayudha and laid him dead on the field like a great forest tree blown down by a storm. Then the king of Kamboja led his forces against Arjuna. After a fierce fight, he lay stretched dead on the field like a great flagstaff after the festival is over. When they saw the strong warriors Srutyayudha and the king of Kamboja slain, the Kaurava force was in great confusion. Srutayu and his brother Asrutayu then attacked Partha on both sides, trying to save the situation and greatly harassed him. At one stage of his battle, Arjuna leaned on the flagstaff, dazed with the wounds he received, but Krishna spoke to him encouragingly, and Arjuna recovered and resumed the fight, slaying the two brothers as well as their two sons who continued the struggle. Arjun marched on and, killing many more warriors, successfully made his way to Jayadratha. Okay, my dear friends, today we are going to end the reading here. I hope you guys are reading along with me. So we have covered until the Sindhu King. Tomorrow on day 16 we are going to read borrowed armor, Yudhishthira's misgivings, Yudhishthira's fond hope, Karna and Bhima, fond hope, Karna and Bhima. Okay, yeah, thank you, my dear friends, for reading along with me.